The Parthenon is one of the most famous and recognizable buildings in the world, designed as a testimony to the Athenian greatness and a witness to the lasting legacy of the ancient Greeks and their architectural ingenuity. It's also a very good reminder of the fragility of Western power and a symbol of democracy. Hi, my name is Moses. I'm a truthaholic. I like Bible truths, world history. Pretty much anything nonfiction will grab my attention. I didn't go to Christian schools. I grew up in the city and I went to public schools. My parents taught me the importance in keeping the Sabbath day, and I attended a Seventh-day Adventist church most of my life. I studied fulfilled Bible prophecies with the members of my church, and I became very familiar with the three angels' message in Revelation 14. We also studied Ellen White's famous writings and her books on all her dreams and visions that she had claimed to have about the end of the world. One writing that really stood out to me was her dream about New York City and what would soon happen to the tall buildings there as a judgment of God.
1999.
And I believe that the Seventh-day Adventist Church was given a specific prophet by the name of Ellen G. White. She saw the Twin Towers. She saw the Twin Towers in vision in New York, and she saw that something knocked them down.
2001.
In New York, and she saw that something knocked them down. Something knocked them down.
It was a devastating day. All of America was sad. The prophecy of Revelation 18 in the Bible was completed. I knew that day that the three angels' messages were all coming to a close and that the end of the world was unfolding, and not too many people knew about it. I was determined to read my Bible and tell my friends and family what would soon come upon the earth and warn them to get ready for the return of Jesus Christ. So God sends another message to the world. As time went on, I became hungry for more information about Ellen White's latest writings. I was more so interested in what God had showed her as far as the destruction of this world goes, and I discovered the story about Nashville in her manuscripts that had been kept hidden from the public and were released in 2015, 100 years after her death. About at the same time, I stumbled across an article that was written in the Tennessean newspaper during Donald Trump's presidency. It was a warning to the city of Nashville and to the President of the United States that the Muslims were going to send a bomb to destroy the city, including the Parthenon. The guy responsible for publishing the article had a class online called Future for America, and he was currently not an active member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I was intrigued by the prediction, but I could not believe he even put a date on the event. Later on, to discover that he was live streaming online with the Canadian brother, a good Muslim from Canada who loved to speak on politically incorrect social and political issues that most community leaders are afraid to speak about. I must admit, a couple of my Adventist friends, including myself, were anxiously waiting on July 18th, but it never happened. I know God is using the Seventh-day Adventist Church to give this message and finish the work already started. I didn't doubt in Ellen White's writings, but I did ask myself, why Nashville? Why the Parthenon? What are these big balls of fire that she calls judgments of God? My first instinct was to visit the Holy Bible to collect more information, if any, on this particular event. After all, God illustrates the end at the beginning. Now I have to trust God to show me more of how all this got started. I was very fortunate to find the story of Paul in Acts 17. He travels all the way to the Athens in Greece to reason with the people who live there, which happened to be the birthplace of democracy. This was a place in which there were many gods of stone and gods of different cultures and different powers. A perfect place for a democracy to begin, and they were even open to hear anything about a new god or collect new information about how to worship their own gods. God himself finds the opportunity inside their democracy to be discovered, and they even had an empty throne labeled the Throne of the Unknown God. Paul saw this opportunity to tell them about the creator of the universe, ultimately telling them God has a special day in which he will judge the world. The Parthenon in Nashville is an exact replica of the Parthenon in Greece. God is able to reason with those who have an open mind. The Athens in Greece is where the World Olympics began, which is a stunning event that occurs every 4 years, in which many athletes around the world, all from different cultures and beliefs, come together to compete with their strength, taking home gold medals as champions of their land. They even have spectacular cultural introductions that tell a brief history of how they all come together for peace and entertainment, following the rules of democracy and leaving religion and negativity aside. Each athlete telling a brief history of where they come from and how they have overcome their own physical and mental strengths for a few days of entertainment for the world. They applaud one another and raise flags with pride to represent all the different places they come from. During the Olympics of 2024, one group of people decided to mock God. They even made a public abomination representing a gross visual of Jesus Christ and the Last Supper. This particular assembly caused outrage from around the world, even from non-religious people. It was so bad that it even had to be banned and removed from all internet access. While on a quest for more information, I learned that the Athens have a severe heat climate crisis, which led me to further investigate this as a world issue and how the world leaders are coming together, leading me straight to the Pope's encyclical of climate change solutions.
This encyclical comes at a critical moment in human history. The ecological crisis is essentially a spiritual problem. The sin against the environment. The ecological sin.
This is big for the Pope. Consume less and buy less. We have to really rethink our lifestyles.
He blames a lot of it on society's throwaway culture.
He tweeted out that the earth, our home, is beginning to look more and more like an immense pile of filth.
Immense pile of filth.
Pile of filth.
The encyclical Praise Be is the most important papal document ever on the environment, backing the science on climate change, blaming free markets, holding rich nations responsible. Environmentalists and many on the left are cheering the message.
Now I see a big problem here. Both the left and the right are coming together to use Sunday, calling it the common good. They are planning to use Sunday shutdowns as a climate change solution and forcing it upon the American people first, then the rest of the world.
Mr. Speaker, the Pope of the Holy See.
The Pope was invited to Congress to give a speech of how the nation must come together to receive the national Sunday law. Let's remember for one moment that Sunday observance was for the pagans and sun worship, having nothing to do with God, which was adopted into the Catholic Church strictly for worshiping the Pope. Revelation 14:9-11 says, "If any man worships the beast and its image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he will also drink the wine of God's wrath, which is poured full strength into the cup of his anger, and he will be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." It was the Sabbath day in December during the pandemic that I decided not to attend church. They were having a Christmas choir instead of the traditional divine worship service. Over the last 20 years, I have been watching most religions in our country adopt this pagan custom. In America, Christmas was criminally illegal to celebrate until 1907, when Pope Gregory I wrote his endorsement to the churches telling them to make Christmas all about Jesus, while still retaining most of the pagan fertility. After discovering this celebration is found in Jeremiah chapter 10 in the Old Testament, I don't need to go into too much detail about the Christmas tree because even the kids know what's going on. This abomination made it inside my church, year after year, watching my very own people engage in this pagan idolatry and thinking there will never be consequences. I was watching my own people celebrate this holiday carelessly and unknowingly offending God's Son, as if Jesus came to interrupt the pagans and the relics of sun worship to force them to worship him instead.
Stop lying. This is heathenism.
Heathenism.
This is paganism.
That's right. That's right.
What do Christ and Christmas got in common? Nothing. Because Christ is not a heathen.
That's right.
He ain't never left on record when his birthday was.
No.
Never.
Never. Customs of the people are
never.
That morning, I stayed home and turned to the world news. A meteor was reported over the skies of America during midnight. Later on that day, I discovered that Kim Jong-un was testing a powerful missile distance capacity and warning Donald Trump about a Christmas surprise. Still not what I was expecting in Nashville, but close.
U.S. intelligence officials say North Korea could launch a short-range missile test or rocket engine test at any moment.
A very bright meteor.
A bright flash of light streaking across the night sky over.
President Donald Trump is celebrating Christmas at his Florida resort, seemingly unfazed by the promise of a Christmas gift from North Korea's Kim Jong-un, raising speculation the nuclear-armed country could carry out some sort of weapons test over the holiday.
We'll see what happens. Let's see. Maybe it's a nice present. Maybe it's a present where he sends me a beautiful vase as opposed to a missile test.
Not only did I discover the beginning of a popular trend to take down Donald Trump, but other countries were definitely taking the initiative in finding the perfect time to attack our country. It was upon this annual festival being a season of prostitution as a religious rite that Babylon was taken over by the Medes and the Persians, recorded in Daniel chapter 5. Reference to this abomination is also mentioned in Ezekiel 8:14. The following year, a Christmas Day suicide bombing in Nashville. Some crazy man was trying to blow up the AT&T transmission building, but not the Parthenon, and not what I was expecting either.
Was the only person responsible for the Christmas Day bombing in Nashville, and that he died in the explosion, according to the BBC. The initial theory is that Warner managed to concoct a powerful bomb and place it in his RV. He then drove the RV bomb to downtown Nashville on Christmas morning and parked it right next to an AT&T transmission building on 2nd Avenue North at 1:22 a.m. Residents were woken up by the sound of around 20 gunshots between 5:11 a.m. and 5:26 a.m. Police responded to the area at about 6 a.m. and heard a warning coming from a loudspeaker on the RV. The voice warned of a bomb in the vehicle and told people to evacuate, while also counting down the minutes before detonation. The bomb exploded at 6:29 a.m., severely damaging the AT&T transmission building and knocking out data services in 5 states. Warner is known to have had extensive experience in IT work. Media reports say the FBI asked Warner's acquaintances if he was paranoid about 5G technology and believed theories that 5G was being used to spy on people.
Since the coronavirus lockdowns, most Americans today believe that we are being spied on by other countries. Foreign objects seen with a naked eye, with cameras and radar, are moving along from coast to coast. The suspicion only rises when people in charge seem to pretend they don't know what's going on.
I know there's a lot of questions about the flying objects.
The spy balloon was then spotted moving all the way across the U.S.
The spying began immediately after Donald Trump reinstated religious liberty during the pandemic lockdowns, allowing religious American citizens to attend their church of choice while everything remained closed.
Thank you very much. At my direction, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is issuing guidance for communities of faith. Today, I'm identifying houses of worship, churches, synagogue, and mosques as essential places that provide essential services. Some governors have deemed liquor stores and abortion clinics as essential, but have left out churches and other houses of worship. It's not right. So I'm correcting this injustice and calling houses of worship essential. I call upon governors to allow our churches and places of worship to open right now.
Donald Trump did make one thing very clear during his presidency. Religious observance is now part of warfare and has become the main focus in people's lives during a pandemic and other earthly crises. Before taking you back to the Sunday Law prophecy, I would like to take you on a small tour of the Parthenon in Nashville. After reading Ellen White's quotes on the destruction of this building, I had to come see for myself what this building was all about. After all these pagan gods seem to have the same worship day, Sunday. So it must be tied down to more clues of Sunday observance and the wrath of God that will soon come upon it. In Greece, it is well known as the Athens of the North, and here in Nashville, Tennessee, this place is called the Athens of the South. In a place where democracy exists, God can work through the lives of other people to introduce the truth. Then, others can have the freedom to decide what they want to believe. It was there in the Athens that Paul had success in giving the precious truth to people who had an open ear to hear about the unknown God. During the Ottoman and Venetian War, Muslims and other religions could not exercise their religious freedom fully under the ancient Sunday law. So destroying the Parthenon became a symbol of retaliation, as democracy could not exist under the world government power controlled by the papacy in the Dark Ages. There is a large 3-story statue of Athena inside the Temple Museum. She goes by the protector of cities, and she is made of gold, silver, and different colored stone. And in her hand, she holds another pagan god named Tammuz, whose birthday is on December 25th. Again, that well-known date of birth for all the pagan gods. While democracy in America is being destroyed heavily by the influence of Satan, the Pope is working hard in bringing people together for the common good, referenced in his encyclical of Laudato Si, which includes Sunday observance forced upon all religions with the excuse of climate change solution, because the World Economic Forum has no clue how to fix this problem. Sunday is founded not of scripture, but on tradition, and is distinctly a Catholic institution. As there is no scripture for this transfer of the day of rest from the last to the first day of the week, Protestants ought to keep the Sabbath on Saturday, and thus leave Catholics in full possession of Sunday. This is a Catholic record written in September 17, 1893.
Returning home. 3 more Parthenon fragments are now being displayed at the Acropolis Museum in Athens alongside other ancient artefacts. There were smiles all round at the ceremony attended by representatives of Pope Francis and the Greek Orthodox Church.
The gifting of the fragments of the Parthenon, which have been held in the Vatican museums for more than 2 centuries, shows itself as an ecclesial, cultural, and social gesture of friendship and solidarity with the people of Greece.
The decision to return the fragments was announced by Pope Francis last year.
My personal heartfelt wish is that this initiative is mimicked by others. Pope Francis showed that this is possible and significant.
Greece hopes the move will spur other overseas institutions holding Parthenon sculptures to return them.
As the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church is quickly gaining power over the world government again, the faster we approach the day in which the world will be obligated to worship this beast, and the sooner the judgments of God will strike down upon the earth. This time, Pope Francis is using acts of friendship by returning lost pieces of the Parthenon back to the Athens of the North, ensuring their gratitude, and ensnaring the world to join in on one world religion.
These 3 sculpture fragments from the Parthenon have been in the Vatican Museum since the 19th century, but Pope Francis has now ordered that they return to Greece. The Vatican has said that the Pope is giving the items to the Orthodox Archbishop of Athens and all Greece, Euronymous II, as a sign of his desire to continue their ecumenical dialogue.
Pieces of the Parthenon that were being kept in a museum at the Vatican are being returned to Greece. Pope Francis reportedly donated them to the leader of the Greek Orthodox Church as part of ecumenical dialogue. The marbles were reportedly held by the Vatican for more than 100 years. Greece has been trying to recover stray pieces of its famed historical site for years.
The ceremony today, which completes the exceptionally generous gesture by Pope Francis, similar to the gesture by the government of Sicily and the Republic of Italy a few months ago, shows the road that we could follow, that everyone could follow, in order for the unity of the Parthenon to be restored. In the place where this should happen.
And how will people lose their religious freedoms? By climate change Sunday law. I would like to read to you one of Ellen White's quotes found in Christian Service, chapter 14. It is on the law of God that the last great struggle of the controversy between Christ and his angels and Satan and his angels will come, and it will be decisive for all the world. Men in responsible positions will not only ignore and despise the Sabbath themselves, but from the sacred desk will urge upon the people the observance of the first day of the week, pleading tradition and custom in behalf of this man-made institution. They will point to the calamities of the land and sea and to the storms of wind, the floods, the earthquakes, the destruction by fire as judgments indicating that God's displeasure because Sunday is not sacredly observed. These calamities will increase more and more. One disaster will follow close upon the heels of another, and those who will make void the law of God will point to the few who are keeping the Sabbath of the fourth commandment as the ones who are bringing wrath upon the world. This falsehood is Satan's device that he may ensnare the unwary. Written in June 28, 1904. You have nothing to lose if you believe in Jesus Christ and keep his commandments. Revelation 14:22 says, "Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life and enter in through the gates of the holy city." God bless every one of you.